Hey everybody, Savadi Satu. Thank you all for joining the Healthy Sandwich. Today I want to talk about something pretty interesting that I've been kind of just thinking about and dwelling about for the past, I'd say 2 weeks.
Excuse me? 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
That has been going through my mind. And that has been kind of math related. The funny thing is, I never really liked math. I did like geometry. I didn't like math. I wasn't good with it. But nonetheless, my career does have to deal with it. But I had to appreciate some parts of it. One of the things that I've been thinking about is dimensionals. Being in a dimension, what it means to be in a certain dimension. You know what 1D is, 2D and 3D. What is going on from there? Playing with all the possibilities in my head, and I'm kind of thinking about it. I was pretty inspired by a scientist, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and also by a cartoon. Funny thing is, I learned a lot from cartoons and video games, and the cartoon is Rick and Morty.
I thought you'd never ask. Hey! Oh, cool. Is that crystallized xanthanite? It conducts electrons across dimensions. 20% accurate as usual, Morty.
I do want to give my thanks to Lil Badness and Ryan for introducing me to that show, Rick and Morty. This cartoon is actually kind of high-level thought process that you might think at first is kind of like this is a cartoon, what the heck is it? But the thought process is actually pretty unique and pretty up there. You really have to think when watching that show. Some people can be turned off, but when you look at the message that is being sent by it, it's actually pretty high level. One of the things I want to talk about is the dimensions, and I want to relate it to the timeline that I actually gave myself, which I said I was going to decide on what I wanted to do with my future by August. And here we are coming towards the end of August. I had ideas on what I wanted to do by that timeline. If you'd followed me from the beginning, probably heard from me saying that I planned and intended on going a certain pathway. But through this thought process, this meditation that I've been doing, just thinking about it, just going through my thought processes, what it brought to me was some clarity. So my decision is not to be a monk, but for a specific reason, and the reason is because I want to actually do good for this reality that I'm in. One of the videos that I had posted up before was when you meditated your soul out of the whole hamster wheel of life and death. The thing is, you have control and mastery of a certain reality, a certain realm. So the first realm is actually what we call the 1D. It's basically what in algebra they call a segment, a line segment. Basically, I'm point B, what you're looking at, and point A is the camera. So the distance between us is the line segment. Now it only goes in one direction. Here, you can only see this side. Yeah, you got a little bit of peripheral, but I mean, like, you can only see in this direction. So if there was actually something blocking you off, you really couldn't see anything from the side. I didn't have anything to filter that, but you basically would have something that should go this way, and you wouldn't really see anything from the side because you're tunnel vision. You're looking from point A to point B. Some beings to kind of look at certain things from another dimension to be like, whoa, what the hell just happened? Okay, so let's look at the 2D. 2 dimensions is length and width from algebra as well. So the length here from point A to point B, and then the width, all these things on the side over here, the peripherals. If you looked at it as an animal, let's say an ant, it really can't necessarily lift its head up. It'd have to like get on a certain platform to kind of see in that direction. Okay, so you can only see in a certain plane. And when something comes from the 3rd dimension, which we know in 3D means the height, okay, length, width, and height. Basically, point A to B here. You also see this way, and we can also see this way. So if you're looking at it from here, you can see that point of view. You can see things from this side over here, up to a certain point, of course, and his side over here, okay? And if something does come from a third dimension, you can't really see things up and down right now. But something comes down, you're like, what just happened? You know, what really just happened? And here it is, something coming down, and you're like, whoa, what was that? It just came in the past. Space, you would know that it was actually the hand that came. You can actually see it. You can look up and like, oh wow, all right, I saw that. And from where? You know, you can actually see it and predict that it's coming from its dimension, from that location. All right. So we all understand the first dimension. We all understand the second dimension. We all understand the third dimension. But what is the fourth dimension? That was something I was thinking about. What is the fourth dimension? In each dimension, it's something amazing when another dimension hits it. So again, if you were tunnel vision and you looked at me and only me, and you didn't see anything from the side, and something came from the side, you'd be like, whoa, what just happened? Okay, you'd be amazed. You can only see front, but then all of a sudden something's like, whoa, what is that? You can't really look in this direction. You're like, oh my God, something. And you had to try to explain it. And that was from the other dimension. So somebody in the first dimension is amazed by what's in the second dimension. But in the second dimension, you're just like, I'm just coming from left and right. I mean, what was that? You know? And even if a voice came from behind, as I was trying to explain, you heard the voice from behind, you couldn't see anything. But in a 2D realm, you could actually turn yourself around and see it. So again, that's one dimension. That camera pointing this way, where my seat was empty, is one dimension. And then you heard it from the second dimension. It was, oh my God, it was from behind me. But the camera could have turned around, but I didn't do it. Okay, so you can actually see what's going on. Somebody from a 2 dimension, like, I'm like God to the first dimension, because I can come from the left and from the right, and they wouldn't even know, all right? But now you have somebody from the 3rd dimension, okay? Something from the 3rd dimension. You know, you're just flying, you came down on something. So again, an ant that's only like this and this, they can only go, they're only here and here. They can kind of sense something coming from above. They know something's coming from above. They don't know when, and then there it was, boom, something plucked them from the air and took them away, okay? So, for the 2D, something on the 2nd dimension, they see a 3rd dimensional being, or whatever it is there, as a God too, because they didn't know where it was coming from. They're just, they're at its mercy. They don't know when it's going to come, from the bottom or from the top. We don't know. Okay, so they kind of stop there. Okay, so again, now we're going to look at what's in the 4th dimension. So a 4th dimensional being is going to be like, to a 3rd dimension, like, you didn't know, you can't see me? You don't know what's going on? And a 3rd dimensional being would look at the 4th dimension and say, oh my God, oh. So how can we see that? So what is going on? So what makes a 4th dimensional being kind of like, you're inferior to me because you're in the 3rd dimension. And the 3rd dimensional being like, oh my God, I can never fathom this. I can never fathom it. I can touch it, I can sense it, and know that something's there, but because I can't do what you do in a 4th dimension, you're God to me, okay? So forth and so on is what these dimensions go. So a 5th dimensional being would be something that could do things that a 4th dimension could not do. So I want to look at into 4th dimension. It's something I've been kind of thinking about. So the 4th dimension, to me, actually, I think is time-space. Basically, it's spatial. It's not in algebra, but in calculus, it kind of brings it out. So in calculus, we talked about limits, limit rates, and all that stuff. There you have a hyperbole. F of x equals blah 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 blah. Okay, obviously proving that I'm not good with math again, but I just remembered like plotting these dots, multiple dots. Like, oh yeah, going from here to here in this distance at this elevation, you can plot as many dots as you want. You're here, you went at this speed, but then at this speed, you could have gone that same speed, but you could have done something different too. So there are infinite location spots just to go from one space to another. And that's the whole idea of time and space. So in 3D, how does that apply? So I'm going to assume that
yes, I do believe
as I'm talking, you're going to be seeing all these different things from different spaces, okay? And in these different spaces, it can interfere and also coincide with the space that you see here. All right, did you guys get all that? Get out of here, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. Did you guys get all that? All right. So it was complicated. You probably couldn't hear the messages because they were all interacting, but all in different times and locations. Okay, that's what I mean by time and space. In 3D, they were all over this entire room. But they also had their own thought processes. So they made their own realities. And that's what I'm trying to lead to. When you've attained that, you can reach these dimensions that are much higher than where we are at this moment here. And you can create any reality you want. If I wanted a certain time, I was like, oh, you know what? When I was in orange, I could have done something better with my life. Or if I was in red, I could have done something with my life. When I had the black jumpsuit vest, I could have done whatever I wanted with my life. All of that is our possibilities. And certain beings that are much higher in dimension than we are can see through that and pick and plot and say, oh, you know what? Let's see what the time frame is going to be like down the line. And then put yourself, let's see what would happen with the one in black and play out their lifeline and see what happens. Oh, that person ended up doing drugs or whatever and then, cut his life short. Or the one that was in yellow, orange, went into meditation and did all his things and all that stuff there. But what I'm saying is that in my life, here, right now, is the reality that I want to live in. Okay, it's the reality that I've chosen now. Is that I do want to work on this world that I've been born on. This is the reality that I want to fix. This is the reality I want to live in because I love it. So when I was a kid, I grew up watching cartoons. I wanted to be a superhero. I also, back in either first or third grade, I'm almost positive it was third grade. The song by Michael Jackson and all the other 80s hit stars, Not Heal the World. I think that was what it was. But basically, they all got together to say, let's change this world and make it a better place for everyone. Those ideas, they moved me. I always wanted that. And growing up, I always wondered, why did people fight and why did they go into wars and all that stuff there? It was unnecessary. Growing up as a teenager, watching Captain Planet and all that stuff there, I was like motivated, like, oh, I gotta save the environment. And how can I do it? That this world, this dimension that I'm in right now is the universe that I actually want to fix. That's the concept of dimensions that kind of plays into my thought process and final decision as to what am I going to do come the end of August. And here we are at the end of August, and I had to come up with a decision. I gave myself a goal, come up with a decision by August 31st. August 31st, the end of the month, and decide, do I want this? Do I want to be a monk and end that circle of life, and just concentrate on meditation and just be on my way and do my own thing and never be born again? Or do I work on this and be reborn again? Yeah, go through the sufferings and all that stuff there, but still have an opportunity to fix this reality, this world that I'm in right now. So that's basically my decision, is that I'm going to stay. Yes, some people were like, oh my God, you're doing something, but I have a reason now. I have a reason for staying, and I have a purpose, and it was a purpose that was kind of ingrained in me from the beginning, and that what I originally thought when I first started putting out my YouTube videos was the answer to solving my problems, and I ended up realizing that it may not solve my problems here in this dimension right now, and that I'm ready to face the problems that come up with it and all the successes that come with it. I'm ready for it. This is what I want. For those that followed me from the beginning, thank you for supporting me and giving me motivation to keep putting out new content. I'm sorry I didn't follow any specific cleanliness where you can actually choose whatever videos you want to watch, but it was just kind of, I wanted it to be a video blog, video diary of what was going on with my life as I was starting to figure out what I wanted to do. I've been thinking long and hard about it. One of my passions is comic books, and you've already seen part of Gen V, and Gen V is kind of my way of saying, hey guys, I was inspired by Captain Planet, and many people were as well. And what they did with emissions and cars and all that stuff, they fixed a lot of those problems, and they were probably inspired by the show as a kid. And now they've grown up to my age, and they put things into play. You have Elon Musk with his electric cars, and many other people who doing electric cars, and they're about my age and your age who are following me, maybe a little bit older and all that stuff there, but they had the same idea. Now I want to give back to a generation, hopefully sooner than later, that can possibly fix this problem and say, you know what, all right, we tackled the emissions part, but why is there still climate change? Why is there still global warming? What's going on? You haven't truly figured out why it's still happening, but there is an idea. One of the ideas and hypotheses is that methane is the other culprit, and water acidification is another culprit as well. That is my path. That I truly believe that this is what I'm here to do, is to fix this earth in some way, some form. I've shouted that out to a lot of my friends, and when I graduated, said I want to fix this earth. How? And they said, you're gonna just meditate and float around and do whatever. And Buddhas, they don't do that. That's all mystical stuff. That doesn't really work that way. We're in reality here. We're in a three-dimensional world here, and I have to fix it the way that I was born to fix it, and it's to give it in some way, some form. And with my gifts that I got, I'm gonna give back. Well, that's it, guys. I hope that kind of gave a little insight into dimensions, and also gave you some insight into my philosophy as to why we're here and what we should or could do. Hope that information gives a little bit of conversation. I'd like to hear more. I'm sure people are gonna be like, yo, you're insane, but I would love to hear that, because not that I like to argue, I do like to converse and see other people's points of view. And I've just been meditating and thinking a lot on my own here. I'm just thinking about what is life, why are we here, what are we doing, what's going on. I would love to see what the fifth dimension would be, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around even the idea of a fourth dimension being I can pick myself around and put myself in different places. Maybe, is it called portals? Is it a portal in time? Is it a part of the multiverse and all that stuff there that people kind of talk about? We've already kind of thought about it. It's very interesting. That is it. That is the Healthy Sandwich. I hope this kind of helped out in many ways. I would love to hear from you. As always, Satu Sokdi. Peace out.